Welcome back to the Danny Harton Show. Today I have with me Tyler Clark, the head writer for a film newsletter titled Please Consume. How you doing, Tyler?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me here today.
Yeah, of course. So me and Tyler, we go back, which you've probably seen as a current theme of the Danny Harton Show. Is I know all these people. That might change next week. We'll see. But Tyler, what do you have to say for yourself?
I mean, I enjoy being friends with you, if that's what you mean.
You want to talk about Please Consume, what it is, where people can find it?
Please Consume is basically a newsletter where Monday through Friday we send you a clip from a movie and we do a write-up of why this movie's great or why it's important or why like the director's great or whatever. And every week we kind of do a theme around it. Like this week we're in the middle of bargain bin week. So the idea is like, what's a movie that you love? Like let's say Ratatouille. So there's like really crappy versions of it that are like the rip-off versions, like Ratatouille.
Ratatouille.
Exactly. Or like the best example being like instead of Transformers, you have Transmorphers. So we're covering all of those movies this week.
Are you going to do the Amazing Bulk?
I don't think so. I don't know what that is.
It's like, it came out during the Amazing Hulk, obviously, or the Incredible Hulk,
Yeah.
rather. But it's just like a purple man that is like a purple animated man that is just like running around like all of this stock footage and like terrible animations.
Just like a pissed off grimace.
Yeah. Do you know who the YouTuber I Hate Everything?
Yes.
He made a video on it.
I'll definitely have to check that out.
I can send it to you if you
Please
want.
do.
It's like a really old video, but it's funny. Have you always been with Please Consume, or when was it like started?
Yeah, so Please Consume was started a little under a year ago with my friend Christian Boyd, who's like our CEO and everything like that. And he came to me and he was like, I have this idea. I think it could work, but it can't work without you because you have like this weird brain where you don't know much, but you know a lot about movies. And I was like, I would love to. And it started out like we just sent out the clips, but it's like kind of morphed and grown. And we're kind of in our third or fourth era now where like it's full write-ups and we like are giving you a synopsis of the film. Then we're actually like diving deep in a segment we call the good shit. And that's us being like, okay, so let's talk about, like, last week we just did slow motion walks. And we're like, all right, so here's why the direction in this movie is great. Now, here's why we want to talk about this movie in the context of a slow motion walk and, like, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was reading all the recent stuff, and I noticed, like, you had a very diverse range of films, even in, like, 1 week. Because, like, slow motion, you had A Clockwork Orange, which is a bonkers 70s movie. And then, and in my opinion, and also, like, the walk in that is it's a different walk, or at least how it unfolds in the end is a very different walk compared to the other movies in that week.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed you had Reservoir Dogs, which is a title screen walk, basically. Yeah. And then you had, what's it called? Mean Girls,
Yep.
where you have, the walk where she like falls into the trash can.
Hell yeah.
You know, so it's like all different movies
Mm-hmm.
in terms of like style and genre
Yeah.
and time period for that matter too, but also like an outcome
Mm-hmm.
and feel, I would say.
Yeah.
So during like your weeks you have like a wide range of things. You're not just like, oh, here's Ratatouille and here's another Disney Pixar ripoff.
Right.
You had like a Batman ripoff.
Yeah.
And
No,
stuff like
we
that.
really, thank you for saying that because we really do try and like, okay, how can we stretch this and like make this the most diverse slate of movies possible? Because I don't just want to be the guy who's just writing about A24 movies all the time. I love A24, but like that's not the only thing I want to talk about. I love every type of movie. If there's a genre, there's a movie in it that I love, and I want to talk about that. And the idea is to like grow people in their film knowledge. And so the idea of like only growing them in their knowledge of like action movies is not really what we want to do. We want like across the board. So we're trying to cover different types of filmmakers from like different genders and different like social statuses and different races and all this stuff, and like films from different eras. Like we try and incorporate like new stuff, but we also try and do like old stuff. Like we did Old Hollywood Week at the beginning of the year, which was so much fun because we just covered a movie from every decade pre 1960 and really getting to like delve in. And people were like, "Oh my gosh, like this is crazy! I had no idea." And even most recently, we just did Stunt Week to go with John Wick Chapter 4, and we covered Safety Last, which is a Harold Lloyd silent film from the 20s, and we just broke down how he did his craziest stunt. And we got so much positive feedback on that because people were like, I've never heard of this movie. I don't know what this is, but it looks crazy, and I love it. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah, of course, man. It's a fun read, I would say, and there's a lot of variety, and it's just a good thing for, like film lovers
Yeah.
to read. So I appreciate what you guys are doing over there. What has been your favorite week so far?
Man, I would say probably we did at the beginning of the year, we did box office bombs. So, like, the movies that had the highest budgets and the lowest box office results. So, just like the lowest grossing movies of all time. And just covering all those films was so fun because a lot of movies that I really love made no money. So, that week, I think we did Ishtar, which is an Elaine May movie, who's one of my favorite filmmakers. And it's considered by many to be like the worst big budget movie of all time. I love it. I think it's a genuinely funny comedy, and being able to defend that was so much fun. And that was what the week kind of was defending movies that people just dunk on all the time, like Michael Mann's Black Hat or Treasure Planet, which is an absolute banger. Hugo was another one we did. And that, for me, it's just so much fun to be able to be like, no. Like, actually take a second and examine Speed Racer for the piece of art that it is, because it is a masterpiece of cinema.
I watched that movie recently.
Yeah? What'd you think?
My letterbox review is one word, and that was nightmarish.
Oh!
But I grew up watching that movie.
Yeah.
Like when you're a kid, you know how you have like 10 movies that you just like are on rotation.
Oh, yeah.
That was like one of them for me.
That's a good choice. I really like that movie, like, unironically.
I also had like the Speed Racer like DS game. So I would always play that in the car as well.
Yeah, I remember getting
Voice
the
crack.
General Mills like Speed Racer cereal bowl, because you could like cut out box tops and like send them in to get like this plastic cereal bowl of the Mach 5, and that was the greatest thing I've ever owned. And I legitimately twice a month go on eBay and just like look at it and go, do I really want to spend $8 on this cereal bowl?
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, I need to do it.
You have a lot of pop culture what am I trying to say?
Like memorabilia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Too many.
How much like kitchen items do you have?
Kitchen items, I only think I have like a small handful. Like I have like a sonic screwdriver from Doctor Who that's like also a spork. And I have like a bunch of like glassware that's got like the Looney Tunes on it and stuff like that. But in terms of like, yeah, KitchenAid stuff, not that much. In terms of like DVDs, in terms of like posters, stuff like that, way more.
Yeah, of course. So I'm gonna ask you. I noticed you did Adam Sandler week,
Yes, we did.
and you also did Nick Cage week.
Yes, we did.
So, what other actors do you have in the future for weeks?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. So Adam Sandler week was like one that like I was very passionate about because I loved The Sandman.
I can
And
tell.
What?
I could tell.
We actually got a lot of hate on that. People were not happy we did Sandler.
I thought it was funny. I don't think I've seen any of the 5 movies that you had, but all those scenes were like pretty. They were like fuck.
Yeah, he's like underrated. Like insanely funny in like his early comedy work. His dramatic stuff is really great. I'm so excited. He's got a Safdie Brothers movie coming out this year. Yeah,
Oh wait, actually, I did watch Uncut Gems. That was the only movie out of those 4
good.
or out of those 5. I will say Punch Drunk Love has been on my watch list for a while.
Yeah.
And because of like your articles or whatever, I put Airheads on my watch list. I want to watch that movie.
You would love Airheads, Danny.
Yeah,
You would
yeah.
love Airheads.
I assume so.
And then Nick Cage week. I actually didn't write that one. Our editor, Tom Fortner, shout out Tom. He actually did the writing on that one. We've been bringing him on to do more of the writing for us. And that was kind of like the litmus test. Like, can you handle this? And he crushed it. So I'm trying to think. I would love to do like Warren Beatty week. I think that would be super weird. He has like such a strange and varied filmography, from like Dick Tracy to like Reds to like Heaven Can Wait, like all these like really cool weird stuff, all the way back to like Bonnie and Clyde. Like he has a very interesting and varied filmography, and he's a weirdo, like famously just like super OCD. Like every movie that he worked on, he kind of shadow directed, even when like he had great filmmakers working on it. He's like, no, this is mine. And he's just an absolute crazy person who's claimed to have slept with over 25,000 women, which
So
just
he's
sounds
like-
stressful, frankly.
He's like that guy that made Buffalo 66.
What? I'm not familiar.
Okay, you're not familiar with Buffalo 66?
No.
Okay, what's his fucking name? I'm gonna have to look it up. But it was this guy that made like 2 movies, and he has like a whole website to where like if you're a girl, you can pay him like $50,000 to fuck you.
What?
Yeah.
This is a real human being?
Yes, I'm looking him up right now. Okay, Vincent Gallo is his name.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
Vincent Gallo. Oh, God, yes.
he-
I'm very aware of Vincent
He
Gallo.
directed Buffalo 66 and The Brown Bunny, and then The Brown Bunny killed his
Yes, I
career.
know of the Brown Bunny because
Yeah.
that has like so much controversy around it.
Yeah.
I didn't. Yeah, Buffalo 66 didn't come to mind, but yes, I am aware of Vincent Gallo. I will always remember him specifically for when John Mulaney and Nick Kroll hosted the Independent Spirit Awards. They had a like a bit where they were going through like directors like famous quotes, and he was like, as Werner Herzog once said, "I am indifferent to mankind," or as David Lynch once said, "I love paint, I love watercolor, I love house paint, I love." But the best was they go, as Vincent Gallo once said, "I hate people, creepy people, just creeping around being creepy creeps."
It sounds like he's projecting.
A little bit.
Yeah, his website, it's like you have to pay. So he like basically he's like, you have to pay me $50,000 to fuck you, but you also have to meet all my criteria, and he like puts all this like criteria of his perfect woman. It's an old website.
Yeah, I imagine so. Is he not dead?
I don't think he's dead. I really wonder what he's doing now. He probably has a podcast, if we're being honest.
I feel like he has a podcast, but his producers never released an episode. He's just like, we let Vincent believe that millions are listening.
We just put him in this room and let him go crazy.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Are you ever gonna do a director week in Please Consume?
Oh, I would love to. I'm trying to think. I don't. Oh, we did. We did M. Night Shyamalan week, actually. And that was all like films by Shyamalan. It was to get ready for not Cabin in the Woods, Knock at the Cabin. It was like to get ready for that. And that was really fun because he's a director who's like much maligned, but I think is like weird and talented and like is worth examining. So we've done that. We've done more general, like we did in honor of International Women's Day. We did Female Directors Week, and that was a really fun one too, because it is that thing where it's like we were able to spot like all these films that people just kept writing in like, oh, I didn't know a woman directed like Cloud Atlas, or oh, I had no idea a woman directed Big, like stuff like that. So that was a fun one. But yeah, I think those are the only two filmmaker weeks we've done so far.
Are you ever gonna do like a week where you talk about specifically the local scene?
Mm. Do you mean like the history of like Nashville cinema, or are you talking like contemporary, like kind of what's going on right now in Nashville?
Okay, that's actually a good question. I didn't think this through too much.
Because like if it were like the history of Nashville, that could be kind of cool. Like you kind of build up to Robert Altman's Nashville, which is kind of considered like the ultimate like final word in like Tennessee cinema. But then also you could do like the Harmony Korine films, like you could do Gummo, or you could do Trash Humpers, which is a real movie directed by a crazy person who's from Nashville.
Word, man. What's some of your best or your most favorite like Nashville landmarks in terms of movies?
Um, well, so the library scene from Silence of the Lamb, when Hannibal Lecter's like in the cage in the middle of a library when he does his escape. That was actually shot, I think, in Nashville, somewhere in Tennessee. So that's obviously like top of the list because that's a masterpiece. Also, obviously, you got to put the cabin from Evil Dead in there.
Oh, that was in Nashville?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. Isn't that crazy? I think like Gallatin specifically, but like, yeah, it's like shot in the greater Nashville area.
You know that the chase scene at the end of Death Proof was in Lebanon?
Really?
Yeah.
That makes sense because Tarantino's from Knoxville originally.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is how we get Brad Pitt as a Knoxvillian in Inglorious Bastards.
Yeah, what's his name? Like Aldo the Apache or something
Is
like
it
that?
really?
I think so.
That's so
I
funny.
think that's his film, like his character name.
Yeah, I only remember it for when he like it's like I speak French, and then he like walks up to the guy. He's like "Air viver derchi."
Buongiorno. Who are your favorite directors
My favorite directors working now or all time?
all time?
Ooh, oh, that's so much harder. All time. I mean, it's interesting because I consider myself a filmmaker. I've worked on short films. I'm continuing to work on short films. Um, and so I'm compelled by directors who I'm kind of just boggled by, who I'm like, I don't think I could ever do what you do. And so for that, I think Edgar Wright is probably one of my favorites. The Scott Pilgrim versus the World, Shaun of the Dead, most recently, Last Night in Soho, and Baby Driver, which is a movie I've seen far too many times.
I want him to make a Nightwing movie.
Oh, that would be sick. That's a really good pick, actually. That would be rad. Yeah, he was supposed to do Ant-Man for a long time, like the first
Yeah.
one, and then he ended up leaving the project.
Yeah.
But you can still kind of tell that he wrote it.
Well, because he wanted to do his own thing, and then Marvel was like, "We're not gonna let you do your own thing."
Yeah, weird they don't, with the exception of James Gunn, which like he for some reason has just been given carte blanche within like the MCU. Other than him, it feels like everybody else is so on rails. But Gunn gets the keys to the kingdom for some reason. And on that note, I love James Gunn. He's another one of my favorites. I love Melvin Van Peebles. He like for like some of the older school, like important early filmmakers of like the radical '60s movement of like New Hollywood and stuff like that. Some of his like indie work is really incredible. I love Steven Soderbergh. He's just somebody who is just so radical in what he does with like doing the Ocean's like 11 franchise and then going on to like make like Aaron Brockovich and Magic Mike and like all this weird stuff that you're like, I don't know how one person did all of this, but he did, and he did it his own way. He's somebody who so has never compromised his vision, and it's great to see. So I love Soderbergh. And then the last one I'll throw out would be probably Jonathan Demme. He's a guy who really means a lot to me. He directed Silence of the Lambs, Rachel Getting Married, and he's just a guy who every story you hear about him is he loved people. He loved working in the artistic medium, And everybody who worked with him loved working with him. And he just made beautiful art. And he was never a jerk to do it, which is so rare, I feel like, when you hear all the stories of, like, the David Finchers of the world and the Stanley Kubricks and the Alfred Hitchcocks, guys who just suck, and it's like, but look at the work. And it's like, no, but it doesn't have to suck. Like, the work can be great, and you can be a decent human being till the end.
Other than like your writing for Please Consume, what have you worked on in the past?
So I work full time with a production company here in town, and I've been doing that about 5 years. So through them, I've gotten to do a lot of really incredible projects with like brands that I'm like, I can't believe like I get to work with like large companies and all this stuff, and like get to see the inner workings of like what commercial art looks like, and a lot of photography based stuff, a lot of like lifestyle and like e-commerce stuff like that. I'm trying to think, like, I've worked on a couple features now that's been really incredible. Too many music videos to count. But in terms of like,
Do you want to shout out any like films so like the people watching this can check them out?
I mean, most of them have been unreleased.
Oh,
Like they never like ended up getting finished, like because the stars would move away or whatever. There is one coming out. I don't know when it comes out, but it's called The Other People, and I got to work a couple days on that. And that's like a little horror film shot here in Nashville that I'm very excited to see once it ends up dropping. So yeah, doing that was really great. I think probably my favorite project was I was working for a sewing company, and they wanted to appeal to like the cosplay community. So they set up a booth at Comic-Con, and we did a whole photo shoot where like we brought in like some of the best cosplayers in the country, and like they showed off the incredible stuff they made with their sewing machine. So that was a really fun one.
all right. So did you go to film school or did you get any of like these opportunities through film school or anything like that?
So I actually didn't go to film school. I thought I did like when I was a kid because like I loved film. I knew that's what I wanted to do with my life, and I looked at like all these great filmmakers, and they all went to film school. So I was like, well, I got to do that too then. And then when I was 15 years old, I was at a graduation party, and I was talking to this girl, and I was like, yeah, I want to go to college. I want to go to this specific school. And she was like, oh, well, it's so funny you say that because my uncle is like the head professor at this college that you want to go to, and he's standing right over there. And I was like, oh my God, I got to go talk to this man right now. And so I like went up to him, and he and I started talking. He was like, so you want to go to college? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, for film? And I was like, yes. And he was like, well, let me ask you this. If you didn't want to do film, would you still go to college? And I was like, no, probably not. And he was like, yeah, then don't go to film school. If you know what you want to do with your life, and it's the kind of career that doesn't require like a degree, just skip it, dude. And that was like maybe the best advice I've ever gotten. And then 2 years later, I ended up getting an internship, and I've been with that company for almost 5 years now. And I just am so thankful for that man because he like really set me on a path, and I really like got to skip steps because I feel like we're told all the time you got to go to college, especially like when you live in our area. But that's not true. I've been able to like make a pretty solid career out of just jumping headfirst into the industry. And I've talked to a lot of guys who like they're like, did you go to film school? I was like, no. And they're like, God, you're so smart. Like, I was like, it wasn't me. It was not me. So yeah, no, I never did film school or anything like that.
Sweet, man. That's pretty cool.
Yep, pretty rad.
So what's like your future plan?
Ooh, my future plans. So I love the company I'm with now, and I really want to continue with them as long as I can. I also really love doing Please Consume, and I'm going to keep going with that. That has just been such a fun journey, and I really love writing, and I'm writing like probably 2,000 words a week, like 5 days a week, and it's a lot, but it is also it's been so good for like sharpening my brain and like making my brain better, and like, and like just growing in my appreciation for film and film theory, and just keeping me excited about the craft. So I love it from that perspective. So I want to keep doing that, but also I want to, make a feature. I'd love to do that. I've got 2 short films on the horizon, which hopefully will be out by the end of the year. And I just love that world so much. So I'm happy to do whatever. I just have to stay in this world. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah.
Is there any ideas you have for a movie? I'm not gonna like ask you about your big ideas because I don't want people to take them. But do you have any like funny throwaway ideas for a movie you want to put out there?
Ooh. I mean, I have so many ideas for movies all the time, and I think the one I'm kind of obsessed with right now that I'm like, there's no way I could ever make this would be, I'd love to do the James Murphy story, the lead singer of LCD Sound System.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because like his life story is honestly kind of boring.
So you want to make a boring movie?
Yeah, a little bit. Like that's why I'm like, this is a throwaway one, because I'm like, I think it would be really interesting because you listen to him. He's like, my story is jealousy in the face of nothing. Like he's always like, yeah, he's always talking about like, I was so jealous of all these people because they would play the music that I liked at parties, and he was like super jealous of them. He's like, it wasn't my music. They weren't stealing my music. They were just playing songs that I showed them. And I was like, I'm better than you. I can't believe you would do that. And so, exactly. And so I'd love to make a movie that's about laziness and like having to overcome like being uncool is not the right word, but like just being kind of a schmuck and like learning to like work hard and like all that kind of stuff. Because then he does start working hard and you're like, oh my God, this is like generation defining music. So that's like the big one that I'm like never happens, but I'd love to.
So it'd be more like talking about like an artist that's so obsessed with himself and his ideas without executing them. So he like evolves and actually learns to execute them.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you end it with the Madison Square Garden show where like they retired the first time, and like you end with like Dance Yourself Clean, because that's just like such a totemic piece of work, and like it just, you're like, God, and he did it, and then you end on like credits and then Drunk Girls plays because that's the best song ever. That's one I'd love to do. Then the other movie that I'm like, it would be so bad in actuality, but I'm obsessed with it. You remember the film Yesterday?
Like the one where the Beatles don't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
I want to do Photograph, and it's about a world where Nickelback doesn't exist. A world where Nickelback does not exist, and this guy's the only person that remembers Nickelback, and he's like, I could be the next.
And then the songs don't take off.
Exactly. And he just sucks. And he never does anything. Or alternatively, it's a movie about selling out and everybody hating you, but you're such a sociopath that you're just happy you have money.
Okay, all those are great.
Thank you.
I have one film idea.
Ooh.
I have one film idea, and it's based off like a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
But I want someone to make this movie. So if you're watching this, make this fucking movie. So, okay. In 1969, the United States government hires acclaimed film director Stanley Kubrick to fake the moon landing.
Yeah.
But Stanley Kubrick, wanting to get it as realistic as possible, flies to the moon to film on location.
It's so funny. It's so funny you say that, because I actually have the idea of like, what if you did a film that's like the alternate timeline where the moon landing actually was faked and it is like that whole conspiracy. But I like that twist that it ends with Kubrick going to the moon. He's like, we gotta get the shot.
I think it'd be great. And he was like an asshole enough to actually make something like that happen. Like, if the government hired him, he would actually like think of that. He'd be like, okay, yeah, I'll do it. Just make a rocket.
They're like, Stanley, that defeats the purpose. And he's like, I know. do it. I made Barry Lyndon, damn it.
All right, let me ask you this, Tyler.
Hit me.
What is one movie you wish you directed?
I mean, there are so many. There are so many movies.
You can only have one.
Probably going to have to say Mad Max Fury Road.
Okay.
Mad Max Fury Road,
That's
that is a
pretty good
movie that
pick.
you're just like, how is this movie exist? Like, this is such a perfect object of, like, genre filmmaking. It blows my mind. I don't know how he did it. So definitely, God, that's such a hard question, though. I only get one.
Yeah. Okay, I'll let you have a second one.
Okay. I would say probably my second would be the John Carpenter's The Thing.
Okay.
Because I love, like, his approach to, like, practical effects and stuff like that.
That's actually our friend John, one of his favorite movies.
Really? Really? I had no idea.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Because he has the voice of what I think the creature would sound like.
Hilarious. We love you, John.
We love you, John. But your voice is deep.
Did you hear that? What's the director? John Carpenter.
Yeah.
They had like a Thane video game, and it continues the story. And John Carpenter considers that to be like the actual ending to the movie. Like he considers the video game to be like the official sequel.
That's incredible. I mean, he is somebody who weirdly loves video games, but it's not even like he likes obscure video games. Like, I don't know any obscure video games, but like, not even like cool stuff. Like, oh, I love Super Hot or anything like that. He's like, I love Fortnite. I just like chain smoke and play like Fortnite and like whatever the NBA's 2K or
Yeah,
whatever.
2K.
Yeah, he's like, I love NBA 2K. It's so funny, but yeah, he's like a video game obsessive now that he's kind of quit filmmaking. Yeah.
He should stream.
Dude, that would be, because he's such a grump, that would be the funniest live stream of all time. He doesn't say a word. He just every once in a while just goes, and then like back to his game. He's just chain smoking the whole time.
Did you know that? Doesn't like Nick O'Malley, the like the writer, like the comic book writer Scott Pilgrim, doesn't he like play video games too?
I mean, I totally believe that. I mean, that comic book and like the film are so inspired by like 8-bit video games and stuff like that, like to the point where like on the soundtrack there's like 16-bit scores for all of the music in the film. So I would totally believe that.
Are you excited for that anime? Did you hear there's an anime coming out?
Scott Pilgrim?
Yeah, and it's gonna have the original cast too.
Ooh, that's hot. That's hot. I'm very excited for that. That sounds rad. Is it like a continuation or is it just a remake?
It's a remake,
Oh, sick.
but it's cool because there's so like if they go by the comic books, there's gonna be like a lot more story
Yeah.
anyway.
This comic book's great.
Yeah,
Like, it's one of those things where, like, I think the movie is better because I think that it's, like, one of the, like, 50 greatest movies of all time. Like, easily. But, like, the comic book rules. It's so good. And, like, I've read it through probably 2 or 3 times now. That's sick. I'm so excited for that. Is it, like, a TV show or is it a movie?
I think it's gonna be a Netflix series. Yeah,
Rad.
but
Can't
it's
wait.
like an anime, so
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
like an American
Like, American anime or, like,
So
real anime?
Okay, I think that's a good question. I think it's gonna be like an Avatar: The Last Airbender situation.
Okay, gotcha. So, like,
Where it's like
Nickelodeon anime.
where it's like inspired by anime, but it's like made in America.
like Teen Titans.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be like something like that.
Sick.
But they're probably gonna have a lot of like anime tropes in it. Like
Oh, for sure.
I'm sure they're gonna like
Mhm.
gonna have that anime style, like especially with the fights and stuff like that.
Oh, certainly. I mean, that one already does have, like, it's just influenced by everything nerdy, whether it's video games, comic books, anime. Like, it's just all across the board, just the geekiest movie on earth.
Yeah, I love it. I actually watched it in theaters when it came, like when it was re-released, like 2 years ago.
Me too.
Me and Aiden watched it.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, we love you, Aiden, but you goofy.
We love you, Aiden, and Josh, because Josh, you were with us too.
And Josh, and double shout out to John
All good dudes.
for no reason.
All right.
Screw it. Frank, what's up, bro?
Do you consume a lot of film media like made by other people?
Yes, absolutely. I am such a fan of like film criticism and stuff like that. I absolutely love like written film criticism. I love podcasts, like all that kind of stuff. I am I consume a lot of that stuff because I think it's such an important part of the medium. Like, I think one of my favorite movies, for the second time brought up today, is Ratatouille, and it's because the Anton Ego stuff where he's like, I don't like food, I love it, and he's like kind of a jerk about like the way he eats food and stuff like that because it means so much to him, and I think my taste as like a film lover are broader than Anton Ego's, but like but I agree with him that it's like the criticism is a part of the industry, and I really hate it when filmmakers complain about it because it's like, no, this is part of the ecosystem. You can learn, you can grow from filmmaking, and like similarly, you can learn from film writing. Like, I'm trying to remember. I think it was A.O. Scott when Roger Ebert died. He said Ebert did not just tell us what movies to watch, but how to watch them, which I think is such an incredible distinction to make. And so, yeah, I love film criticism, whether it's like David Ehrlich or David Ehrlich.
So, like, what are some of your favorite, like, film podcasts and other film media to consume?
Yeah, so I think in terms of like film critics, I love Siddhanthan Laka. He is a film critic who writes a lot about like Indian cinema, and it's just a world that I'm fascinated by, but I don't really know a lot of film writers on that subject specifically, so I really like him. I really like Tim Brayton. He writes a lot about like animation and stuff like that, and he has such a specific vision of what he likes and he doesn't like, and it can be frustrating sometimes, but I think I just respect that opinion so much. David Ehrlich, I think overall is probably my favorite. I think he is just a generationally talented writer. I think the way he writes is so brilliant. I always point to like his review of The Green Knight as one of the best pieces of film criticism of the last like 5 years. So I love them. And then in terms of like podcasting and stuff like that, my favorite podcast, it's Blank Check with Griffin and David. I actually flew to New York to see them like 2 months ago. Like, I'm such a huge fan of their stuff. I also love The Big Picture. I think that's a great podcast. Fighting in the War Room. Fighting in the War Room is especially great because they are people with completely different viewpoints on film coming together to just debate and discuss, and it's just a fun vibe, but also you are getting 5 completely different perspectives at once. So those would probably be my favorite. I just really like looser styles of like criticism and stuff like that when it comes to like podcasting. I'm not interested in like the NPR thing.
So, you like when it just feels like a group of friends talking
Yeah,
instead
exactly.
of like a corporate thing?
Exactly, but they do have to have some level of intelligence.
So it doesn't like derail and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. What are some movies that you're looking forward to?
I mean, we just got the one that I've been like waiting years for.
The Mario movie?
The Mario movie. The Bob Hoskins Mario movie. No, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. That, like, for me, those movies I absolutely adore. I'm a huge James Gunn fan, and I've just been like foaming at the mouth. And so seeing this one finally come to fruition was just so exciting. So that's the one I was like so excited about. I'm really looking forward to the double feature of Oppenheimer and Barbie. Like, I know like that's kind of like the internet's meme right now, but it is so true. It's going to be such a rad day doing 2 in one day. I think Greta Gerwig, I loved Lady Bird. I wasn't as big on her rendition of Little Women, but this film just has such a weird style and color palette, and it really feels like such a specific vision. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then just like Nolan doing his thing, I'm always going to be excited about that. So those are like the big ones right now. But honestly, all the movies I was really excited about this year already came out, whether it's the John Wicks or the Magic Mike Last Dances. But yeah. What about you? What are the ones that you're like, fuck, when is this coming?
Well, mine are like a bit farther into the future. They don't have release dates yet.
Yeah.
But if who's the guy that made The Lighthouse? What's his
Oh,
name?
Robert Eggers.
If he makes the Nosferatu movie,
Yes.
I would love that because I've watched like the original and I watched the Werner Herzog one,
Yeah.
and I would just and especially like with his style,
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see what he could do with a Nosferatu movie, and then um the Batman 2.
Yep.
I'm just
Can't
looking
wait.
forward to that.
Yeah.
I would love because like people are saying like talking about the new Batman, like, oh yeah, I love it. It's so grounded in reality,
Right.
and I think that was a great choice for the first movie. But in the second going forward, if they have villains like Clayface
Yep.
or Mr. Freeze or Man-Bat, that would work a lot more, and because they'd be more terrifying
Mm-hmm.
because of how grounded the first movie is.
Yeah.
So if they have like a whole like trilogy or like franchise of like the specific Batman with the more like out there villains like Mr. Freeze, I think it could really really work.
Right. It's supposed to be Clayface in the next one, right?
I think those are the rumors.
Yeah, I would love that. And it would, also, like, what do you even do with that? And all right, dream casting for Clayface. Who is it?
Morgan Freeman.
He's back. He's no longer Lucius Fox. He is Clayface.
Jason Statham would be hilarious.
Statham would be wild. Honestly, John
And it makes
Bernthal.
sense. Who's that? John Bernthal.
John Bernthal, the Punisher.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah.
Okay. He was in Fury too, right?
He is in Fury. Yeah,
Okay,
he's
yeah. I
great.
know who
And I
that
think,
is, though.
like, because, like, the whole thing with Clayface is he's, like, a scuzzy henchman who wants to be an actor. He's, like, kind of on that line of, like, mafioso, but also thespian. And, like, that's kind of Bernthal's whole vibe. So I'd love that. That would be good. What about David Harbour?
Who's that? Who's
Stranger
that?
Things?
God, I don't know these people.
He's
look him up.
what's his face from the detective dude from Stranger Things. He's got a big face. He did that Oscar the Grouch sketch on SNL, most famously.
What's his name?
David Harbour.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah.
He looks like a Clayface.
He looks like a Clayface.
I would love an older Clayface
Yeah, me too.
as opposed to a younger one.
Yeah.
Especially like with Clayface's backstory, how he's like an actor and stuff. I'm not sure if he's like a renowned actor in the Batman comics, but if he's like a renowned actor in this movie, it would make his story like a lot more sympathetic, I think.
I think we need to get Daniel Day-Lewis out of retirement.
Yeah, we do. That would be insane.
Yeah, he spends 8 months
For
as
a
a
fucking
Clayface to get
Batman
ready.
To play Clayface in the Batman Part 2, starring Robert Pattinson, directed by Matt Reeves. That's hilarious. I'm also looking forward to Mickey 17. Do you know what that is?
What is that?
It also has Robert Pattinson in it. I think it's directed by Bong Joon-ho.
Oh,
It's
shoot.
okay, so it's directed by Bong Joon-ho, starring Robert Pattinson, and on Letterboxd it says Mickey 17 is an expendable, a disposable employee on a human expedition sent to colonize the ice world Nilfhelm. After one iteration dies, a new body is regenerated with most of its memories intact, and it's set to come out next year.
Sick.
I think that would be it. I'm looking forward to that movie. I think it'll be
Yeah.
good.
That'll be so rad. Because Pattinson's like so just like in his bag right now. Like he is absolutely crushing it. And like this is gonna be like Bong Joon-ho's follow up to winning Best Director, Best Picture, and Best International Feature, and Best Screenplay ? Like all in 1 year. Like that's absolutely insane. So like to go from that to this, like you're like this has got to be like the passion project, the as my favorite podcast would say, his blank check. You know, the thing where it's like you got the big success, now just like let that thing pay out like a slot machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be sick.
What's your favorite Robert Pattinson movie? Or role, I guess.
I mean, it's got to be Good Time, right?
I love
Like,
Good Time.
Good Time's so good, and I mean, he's had great work before, and he's gonna have great work coming up. But I mean, Good Time is that was so the announcement of like, I'm back, I'm better than ever, like I'm not just the Twilight guy, which I think he gets like a lot of unfair heat for that. I think he is genuinely so talented. I think he's kind of good in that first one. Um, I know, wild take, but I think he's like genuinely kind of good in that movie. And so like moving forward, like and like going into such a weird dark role for him was it was shocking, but now you're like, this is just, it feels like again the announcement of one of our best working actors right now. And similarly, you now see him and you're just like, Pattinson's so great. Whatever he's doing, I'm in, whether it's High Life or whatever, to the point where, like, I watched The King with Timothée Chalamet on Netflix, which is not a good movie, but I watched it because it's, like, Pattinson's in it. And he doesn't show up till, like, the third act, and the whole movie, you're just like, oh my God, when does Pattinson show up? Like, please just bring him up. And then the second he's on screen, you're like, fucking explosive. Like, this movie's, like, working for the first time, thank God.
Giant balls with a tiny cock.
What?
He goes, in that movie, he goes, giant balls with a tiny cock.
I forgot about that.
That's the only part I know. Can we talk about the Safdie Brothers?
Of course we can talk about the Safdie Brothers.
I think they're going to go down as one of the best in this generation
Absolutely.
of filmmakers.
Yeah,
Especially going off of Good Time and Uncut Gems, where they brought back a man's career kind of with Good Time, and then they made The Sandman into an Oscar worthy actor, and they also made it a period piece for the year 2012, starring Kevin Garnett and The Weeknd.
and
it
all
all
those
makes
iPhone
sense.
5s.
Yeah. And it all makes sense. And if like you're a Weeknd fan or a 2012 Boston Celtics fan, it's kind of the best movie for you that like you'll ever get.
Yeah. No, it's incredible. The Safdies, so please consume. We're always kind of drafting like who are the next guys gonna be. You know, like who are the 5 filmmakers that made like kind of got their start after 2010, like moving forward. Who are those guys who are gonna be with us for years? And always Safdie Brothers are top of the list because they're doing like this cool like Scorsese 70s vibe, but feels so fresh and it feels so modern and it feels youthful in this way that's like exhilarating. And I just love everything they're doing. And Uncut Gems is a movie I did not like the first time I saw it. And I was just like, this movie sucks. I hate it. And then like I rewatched it. I'm like, oh no, this just like stressed me out and like hit too close to home. Like this movie's actually kind of a masterpiece.
It's my favorite period piece for sure.
Yeah.
But also like their movies feel so timeless.
Yeah. No, they really do. Because also, it's not like they, like, I was joking about, like, the iPhone 5s, but, like, they really don't use that much technology anyways. And so they really do feel current, but also, like, it could have come out at any point. Like, they're talking about doing After Hours, the Martin Scorsese movie, like, doing a remake of that.
Really?
Yeah, which, have you ever seen After Hours?
No, I know what it is.
Yeah, and it's like, how do you do After Hours now? Like, that's a movie that hinges on the idea that nobody had phones in the 80s. And you're like, how do you do that in the modern era? And, like, I don't know how, but if anybody can pull it off, it's absolutely the Safdie Brothers.
But isn't After Hours kind of like an anxiety movie?
Absolutely it is. It's such a weird, like, coked out, like, mass comedy trip thing, even though it's like 10 years after Scorsese got sober, but like it is such a weird, messy, shaggy comedy in the vein of like a Big Lebowski, but with the energy of an Uncut Gems or a Good Time. It's so weird and good.
Okay, cool. I'm definitely gonna have to bump that up on my priorities of movies to watch. But like when you were talking about how like they're modernized but feels timeless, it's just like if you like a Scorsese's movie when he's like in the 70s, Like when those movies were coming out, obviously it takes place in modern day New York, right?
Yeah.
But now we look at it and it's timeless. So I feel like that's going to be the same thing where it's like, oh, this movie takes place in 2012 or this movie takes place in 2017. You know, like that's what people are going to think in the future, but it's still going to feel timeless.
Yeah, absolutely. And with Scorsese, similarly to the Safdies, he does have period pieces, some that are like kind of close to the era he's in, some that go farther back, but they do feel so timeless. Like I just watched Raging Bull last night, and that is a period piece, and you watch it and you're like, okay, I've seen these tricks done a million times, but why is this one working? You're like, oh, it's because it's the first time it's ever happened. So it's not perfected on a MacBook the way that we can do these tricks now. It's like, again, it's like kind of shaggy. And you're like, this is like got such weird energy because it's somebody doing something so new for the first time. And it's so exciting to watch that happen on screen. And like the Safdie brothers are totally doing that now, which is kind of crazy because we're in an era where you're like, there's nothing new under the sun. Like everything that's been said is going to be said, but they have the swag of like, yeah, we know, but we haven't said it yet.
We know, but we don't care.
Exactly. Which, I mean, you're an artist, I'm an artist. Like we both know that's really hard to like be able to say like, I know it hasn't, or I know that like it's been said before, but I have a way to say it that has not been said yet. That's so exciting to watch somebody do so confidently and execute so beautifully.
Okay. Other than the Safdie brothers, what are some like newer, younger directors that you're looking forward to? Like you're looking forward to just seeing like their trajectory and their growth.
So the first one that always comes to mind for me is like gotta be Nia DaCosta, who directed a movie called The Little Woods a few years back that's like a solid little thriller. And then she got handed the keys to Candyman, and she did the 2021 Candyman movie, which I think is secretly awesome. And she's so young and so new on the scene, but is just absolutely killing it. And I think she is going to be with us for years. She's so intelligent. She's making really strong choices. She's got the Marvels coming out this year, which is like looks like a fun Marvel movie for the first time in years, where I'm like, oh, this actually feels like exciting and kind of youthful. So I'm really excited to see what she does next. Like we said, the Safdies got to be in there. Edgar's got to be in there. Ari Aster, who's 3 films deep right now and is just like crushing it between like Hereditary, Midsommar, and Beau's Afraid. Which, have you seen Beau's Afraid yet?
No, I've only seen Midsommar of those 3.
Yeah. Bonkers movie. Like, I'm not even sure it's good, but I think it's a masterpiece. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure I like it, but it's a great movie.
But you have to appreciate it.
Exactly. Because it's him being like, okay, I'm just going to throw everything I want on screen right now. So he's got to be in there. Damien Chazelle, he's absolutely crushing it. I loved Babylon so much. So he's got to be in there. And then there's a guy working right now. I'm actually going to look up his name because I want to get it right because I feel like I get it wrong. Okay, yes. So Carlos Lopez Estrada, who directed Blind Spotting, the Daveed Diggs movie, and directed Raya and the Last Dragon for Disney, and most recently did a movie called Summertime, which is just a collection of poetry. And he is a guy who is so youthful and doing such like weird, energetic work that you're like, it feels like you're watching like early Danny Boyle stuff at times, where you're just like, this is like never been done before, even though it feels so classical and so informed by the old guard, while simultaneously he is just doing his own thing.
Word, man. Yeah, I'm looking forward to all those people, honestly, especially like Robert Eggers, Damien Chazelle, those 2 in particular. But now let's talk about like what you guys all clicked on this video for. What did you think of the Mario Brothers movie?
I mean, what can I say that hasn't already been said about the Mario Brothers
Not
movie?
much.
Not much. I mean, a young John Leguizamo looking like a snack playing Luigi Mario. Bob Hoskins playing Mario. And this is true. Not knowing it was based on a video game.
They didn't know that?
Bob Hoskins had no idea when he signed on to that. Like, he found out partway through shooting. But, like, when he signed on, he did not know that Mario was based on a video game.
Was he born like a day before he got the job?
Think of, why would Bob Hoskins, thespian Bob Hoskins, know what Mario is in the mid-'80s?
Because it was everywhere?
I guess. Well, the weird thing
That
is
shows you
his
how
son was the
detached
one
rich
that was...
people are.
Say that again?
That shows you how detached rich people are.
Well, it was a thing where it's like I think he found out because his son's like, "You're doing Mario?" And he goes, "Yeah, you've heard of that?" That's not what he sounds like. He's British. But yeah, that is such a bonkers insane movie. That first one, because it like we were talking about it earlier, it's like this weird like Blade Runner knockoff that nobody asked for, but I'm so glad exists.
It's like Blade Runner, but instead of a detective, it's two plumbers. Instead of replicants, they're like dinosaur people.
Yeah, there's Koopas.
But they're like reptilian monsters
Yeah.
from hell.
And the director of Easy Riders just hanging out, playing Bowser. It's so
Honestly,
nuts.
Bowser and the main villain from Blade Runner look the same.
They kind of do.
That's
Yeah.
fucking crazy.
I've never thought about that, but you're kind of right.
It's just that like Bowser went to more like Pixie concerts in the 90s.
I was about to say Pixies.
That's all it really is.
That's all there is to it.
How does it feel to be on the best song of all time? Black Tie by YBA Twig.
Yeah, so in addition to my film writing, my filmmaking, my photography, my stand-up comedy, I am also a rapper. I am not a rapper, but some friends of ours, they were working on a comedy album. They're like, "Tyler, do you want to be on it?" Do you know what my name is on that album?
Billy Wildest.
Yes. I'm a film nerd through and through.
Do you want to explain who Billy Wilder is for
I would
people
love
that don't
to.
know?
So Billy Wilder was a filmmaker in like the old Hollywood era and made some incredible movies, most famously Sunset Boulevard. And when I was coming up with my rap name, I was like, well, I'm wilder than Wilder. I'm wildest. It's so dumb. I love it. And then when they dropped the album, our friend Michael, when he was doing the credits for it, he had me as Billy Wild S, but the S is a $sign
Yeah,
because I'm a rapper.
it's so good.
Yep.
You have the best verse on that song.
Thank you.
At least the most memorable.
Thank you. I
For sure.
appreciate that. I was. That's good to hear because I actually am on the second album they did, and I really like the lyrics of that song. But I feel like my performance is so bad on it. It's so because I'm like not confident because it's a beat that like was kind of difficult.
But
for
it
me.
like adds so much to the song.
But it's like a whole rap about Sully Sullenberger, the pilot. And so lyrically, I'm like, this is a masterpiece under like bulletproof glass. Even though, once again, my performance on Black Tie is about as good as a performance on a rap album can get. Yeah, you heard what I just said, Kendrick.
Shots at one of the greatest rappers of all time.
Yep. One of, not the greatest.
Oh my
The
god.
wildest.
The Mount Rushmore of rap. Tupac Shakur, Biggie Smalls, Kendrick Lamar, and Billy Wildest.
Macklemore's working the gift shop.
That's where he fucking belongs.
Exactly.
All right, so last question. I want to circle back to please consume.
Yeah, please.
What is, God, what article that you've written are you most proud of?
I would say there are 3. I've talked about 2 of them, that being Speed Racer. I was like, and this is so embarrassing, I was crying when I wrote that because I was like pouring out my heart about like auteurism and like the art of filmmaking itself. So I love that one. my write up for Old, the M. Night Shyamalan movie, because that's a movie I really appreciate and I feel like gets like so much hate. And again, it was a film where I was like, no, no, no. We need to respect him as the artist that he is, not the artist we want him to be, and like making that argument. So there's that one that I love, but probably the one I'm most proud of is my write up for RRR, the Tollywood film from last year. We were doing like our 5 favorite scenes of 2022, and so naturally we had to put the Not To Not To Academy Award winning song like in that list. And just writing, it might be my longest piece, but like writing about like Tollywood and the difference between Bollywood and Tollywood and the understanding of like the cultural significance of that song and that film and all that stuff, because I really love Indian cinema. I'm not as knowledgeable as I probably should be, but certainly more knowledgeable than the average person. And so writing about that and like being able to tell people like, hey, there's like more stuff outside of like the Hollywood thing that like really is incredible and should deserve so much respect. So that's my number one.
You want to know what my number one
I
is?
absolutely want to know what your number
The Lighthouse, baby!
Woo! He's back.
Yeah, I like your Lighthouse article.
Thank you.
I did not. When I watched The Lighthouse, I just kind of watched it and went fuck, and then and then just like didn't like. I thought about the movie,
Yeah.
but I didn't like think about the movie.
Right.
If you know what I'm saying.
Yep.
So like when you're talking about like what the sequel represents,
Mm-hmm.
and like the whole like Prometheus and Poseidon angle and stuff like
Yeah.
that was like really eye opening to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like that one.
Thank you. I wish I could take credit for that, but people smarter than me came up with that, and they are credited in the article, to be clear.
You came up with the Toy Story analogy though.
I did. I came up with an analogy for those curious, where we have a segment that we do sometimes, because at the bottom of every article we like to do a silly little thing, whether it's like a fun fact or whatever. And this was film theory gone wrong, because within film theory you can kind of just say whatever and just be like, I think Home Alone is about like Christianity or whatever, and you're like, what?
You can like say whatever you want, and like no one can really tell you you're wrong with
Exactly.
film theory.
Exactly. And so I said this is Robert Eggers' commentary on Toy Story. Robert Pattinson is a representation of Buzz Lightyear, the new guy who is brash and thinks that he is the star of the movie. Willem Dafoe is Woody, and he is the old guard who wants to protect the lighthouse, who is, of course, Andy. But this one ends with them murdering each other. Unlike Toy Story, where we had 3 sequels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the bad ending to Toy Story.
God, I would love to see The Lighthouse 2 and Stinky Pete.
Just the lighthouse guy. That'd be funny.
The Lighthouse 2, the coal mine.
It's like Stinky Pete and then the horse.
Yeah, but we still get like the Alanis Morissette montage.
The horse is like eating his guts out at the end of the movie.
And Jesse, still played by Joan Cusack's like, what are you doing?
Did you write the Fear and Loathing?
I did.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's my favorite movie.
Fear and Loathing is such a good, weird movie made by such a cool, weird director.
Yeah. And also like the book. Have you read the book?
I've never read the book. I read pieces of it for the article because we do cite it quite a bit, but I've never read it in totality. I need to, though. Tell me about it.
It's a great book. It's my favorite book. So it's my favorite book and my favorite movie. And I just think the story is so interesting because all that stuff actually happened.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like with Hunter S. Thompson, like I'm a fan of his work in general.
Mm-hmm.
And like the balls on him to like publish that because he used it under a fake name.
Mm-hmm.
And in Rolling Stone, I'm not really sure if when people were reading that, if they thought that it was like a real story or not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like, but it's just crazy that all that stuff really happened, and he like had these loopholes to actually publish like all this stuff, and then he goes on to cover the 1972 presidential election
Yeah.
right after all of his crazy drug binges in Las Vegas.
Yeah. He's a fascinating figure.
Yeah.
Yeah. The way he like just revolutionized like journalism is just fascinating. Also name dropped in one of my favorite songs, and that is Arnold Palmer by Jeb Bush Orchestra. Do you know that song?
No.
It's like a jazz song, and at the end you just hear them yell out, "Where's Joe? I see Hunter S. Thompson, but where's Joe?" It's the most random thing, and I love it.
I have to say, like, I can see some of Thompson's writing in that, like, in your writing, in that article.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, for sure, man. I guess that wasn't intentional from, like, your answer. But, like, I could definitely see, like, even if you just read that small part that, like, you put in there, like, it definitely influenced your writing.
Yeah. Well,
that
again,
article.
he's one of these guys who just completely changed that whole space so much that, like, even if you're not aware that you're paying homage to him, you're still paying homage to him. The same way I love the band Sparks. And if you look at their work, they influenced so much of music. Even though most people don't listen to Sparks, they are such an important part of the industry and the culture of music, but most people will never know. And I feel like Thompson is kind of the same way, even though he's more famous.
Yeah, I even see when I'm writing something after reading Thompson, like, I kind of write somewhat in his style, so
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess it's just a thing Thompson fans share.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
yeah.
But yeah, that's we're gonna end the video here. Is there anything else other than, like, please consume that you want to shout out?
No, like I said, working on a couple short films coming up. Please check out Please Consume. I work really hard on it, along with our CEO, Christian, and our editor, Tom. So please go follow us there. You can hit me up on Letterboxd and Instagram at movienerd_Tyler through and through to the end. And yeah, follow me on OnlyFans
At Billy Wildest.
at Anderson Cooper.
All right, so links will be in the description for Please Consume, as well as Tyler's Instagram and Letterboxd. So go check it out. It's worth your time. And that concludes this week's episode of The Danny Harton Show. Bye, guys.
My name is Billy, and I'm here to say that I'm drug-free every single day. Don't need weed to get me high, cause I get high on life. My name is Wild, and I'm here to say that being you is A-okay. Don't do drugs cause they are bad, but when you do, it'll make me sad. Be who you want if makes you glad, but don't do drugs cause they're a drag. My name is S and I'm here to shoot. Date who you want as long as they're cute.